Oh yeah, it's your boy JC. I'm in the mood, love. Lately I've been constantly thinking about you, babe. You drive me crazy, yeah. And girl, I want this, got me all up in my feelings. Oh, what a feeling, yeah. I knew the first time I laid eyes on you that you would be here forever. I'm not being arrogant, and I still can't take my eyes off you. 'Cause you made me better, so much better. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime. I'm in the mood.
All right. So, we back. We are back. You know, after tech checks and mic checks and checks and now Wendy's all worried the thing is work. Oh, it'll work. It's gonna work just fine. Hey, we back, y'all. We back in the Mary Shop. It's still Monday night. Still Mike and Wendy. I'm still sitting next to a rock star. What I was getting to, and I just cut to the chase. I think Wendy's a rock star, right? So I was like, after she got done, I'm like, "Ooh, Wendy, over here," and she's just like, "Okay, hold on, I get to you. Hold on a second. All right, quick hug. Next, come on. You got your picture.
That is not how that went down.
That's how I remember it.
Yeah.
But
So
it
what
was
we were
good.
saying, we apologize for the distorted sound, and hopefully we're coming through a little bit better. So if you guys could just let us know that it's coming through clear,
Yeah.
we're glad you came back and you stuck with us. So Terrence, Neil, we're really glad that the Neils are in the house. Rocco and Tracy,
Wow, what's going
thank
on?
you. It's been a while,
Yeah.
and we appreciate you. So thank you for that. Hey Casey, it's been a minute.
What's up, cuz?
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're excited. So what we were
Yeah.
saying when we got started was last night we had the privilege of attending and being a part of the premiere of a new talk show here in the Augusta area, the
Yeah.
Poncere Show. And so we want you guys to go to that page. It's on Facebook, the Poncere Show, Poncere. Like that and follow that. There's going to be some tremendous things coming out from that young lady, and we are really, really proud of her.
Yeah.
Trey, thanks for joining us. And
What's
Don
going on,
and
Trey?
Sherry Nesbitt, glad y'all made it back safely
What's
and
going
glad you
on?
could join us here tonight.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah.
And I see you, cuz. Hey, get better quick. The Rona is catching up to a whole lot of people.
Oh, it sure is. I think
So-
it's coming around for round 4.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you haven't gotten it, it's looking for you. But apparently you must have something to say tonight because yeah. So that anytime that our song didn't want to work, tech didn't want to work, sound. I mean, all kind of stuff going on. So you must have something to say. And I don't whatever happens, if we can help it, we're gonna be here. So,
Yeah.
all right.
I don't know that I have anything to say, but there were some questions, some really good questions that we were answering last night on the panel. And I think there was one that came in kind of towards the end from someone that we didn't all get a chance to answer. And I think that it might be a good one. And we could save it for the second single Sunday, but I think it might be good tonight.
No, I think you have something to say about that. You didn't
Yeah.
really respond to it last night. It was kind of toward the end.
Yeah.
And so I do want to hear what you have to say on that. And I think it kind of fits. We've been talking for the last couple of weeks about hope,
Yeah.
right? We were at the Weekend to Remember in Houston at the beginning of June. And we kind of came away from that feeling, I don't know, I was feeling really good about the fact that there is hope, that no matter what you've been through, no matter what you're going through in your relationship, there's hope that there's some things that you have to do,
Yeah.
but no matter what it is possible for it to be better than what you had before. And so last night's question, when that came up, I really wanted to hear your response to that question because I think your response to that question is great because the premise is that with younger people, younger than us, which that's not hard, but the idea a lot of times is that they don't look at relationships in quite the same way, broadly speaking, in quite the same way that we do or did. And so we're saying, hey, marriage, this thing is great, work hard for it, etc. But what they are seeing maybe has them questioning, like, why would I work hard for that?
Yeah, yeah.
Am I kind of capturing the essence of what she was saying?
Yeah, I think so. And one of the things that she said was, for younger generations, and I thought it was interesting she said it, but younger generations, why does it seem like it's so easy for them to kind of give up or leave relationships? And then, but she also mentioned not having good examples.
Yes.
Right. And so, I thought, I mean, because there's kind of two things happening there, right? The appearance and the acknowledgement that a lot of younger couples do seem to get in quick and get out quick, right? There's kind of an out clause or a way out from the very beginning, and that is a little bit different than former generations approached it, right?
Yeah.
Many of us came into it saying, I'm going to get married once and I'm going to stay no matter what. Because the examples before us, what we saw was people staying together no matter what, good or bad or ugly or whatever, dysfunctional. A lot of people stayed together. Now there's always been divorce, but I think more often than not, we saw people kind of toughen it out and staying together despite how bad it was.
So what you're basically saying is that we saw people suffer, right? Nothing really changed, but they just stayed with it and suffered through it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And sometimes. I mean, so there are different scenarios, but my response to her, because I was thinking about it and I thought, well, on the one hand, we can't speak from the perspective of the generation that is getting married getting married, the younger generation that exists right now. We can't, because that's not our perspective. But from our perspective, I can speak to the fact that I think a lot of people are entering into relationships and marriage with an unrealistic expectation based on false ideals.
So, okay. So that sounded real deep. But I'm wondering, because I do wonder, like, what do you all see? Like, what, as far as how young people are viewing marriage, what they see and how it impacts their own decisions as to whether or not they're going to be married or not. I do wonder, what are y'all seeing? So just drop it in the chat if you know anyone, any young folks. And that's actually a thing too. Like, do you even know anybody that you're close enough to that you can kind of pour into? Or if you're younger, like single or couple, do you know anyone that pours into you, that gives you any type of guidance or mentorship or hope or whatever?
Yeah.
I'm just curious as to kind of what people's experience is before you.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, you said before I get into my answer.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking about the whole idea of it maybe doesn't matter what generation you're in, but you're either not married yet or just recently married at any age. That it probably applies to those people as well.
Yeah. And so, because the way, and it's very interesting because some of us, if I think about the examples of marriage we had coming up, I mean, some of us, we didn't have great examples of marriage, but we did it anyway.
Yeah.
And I don't know, for me, there was the examples were all over the map, but I still had this idea, this dream, if you want to call it that, of what marriage could be like for me when I finally did it.
Yeah. And so this is interesting, Shannon. We have a good friend that says that and references that analogy a lot. But he says young people look at us and don't want marriage because our video hasn't met our audio.
Yeah.
And my response is along those lines. Yeah.
So well, let's go ahead. I want to hear what you think, and then we'll chat about it.
So the way I would respond to that, I mean, essentially, I said it. We are giving them and kind of feeding them this unrealistic expectation that things are going to be unicorns and rainbows, right? And then they get into it, and it's more like Dungeons and Dragons, and they're like, "This is not what I thought it was going to be. I'm out."
Yeah.
And the truth is, unless we are telling the truth and we're living our truth, then what we're saying to them does not match how we're living, which is kind of what Shannon was saying. The audio doesn't match the video, and they're not really sure how to make sense of that. right? So we talk about expectations all the time. These expectations of what marriage will be, what it's going to be like with the person that you got married to, and whether or not it's going to be like the marriages that you've seen examples of.
Yeah.
But if people aren't showing you what's really happening in their marriages, then your expectations may not be realistic.
Well, you said they don't know how to make sense of it. They make sense of it. It's like you're a hypocrite,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah, of course.
Like you want to show one thing but do another, right? And so, yeah, that's the conclusion I would take.
Yeah.
Anyway, right?
Yeah.
So I'm speaking for everybody, right? But but that's a problem because they're right. When you say what it's supposed to be and how you're supposed to forgive and whatever, there's something about seeing the process.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times we're running around trying to, and this is on an individual and a married basis, we try to hide the ugly parts, show only the good parts, and then we want to come at people with all the answers.
Yeah.
This is how you do it, this is how I did it. Right? And but you're kind of lying, right? You're not accounting for the way there. Or and every time I say this, some people get up in arms, right? So there's at least one person here who's never, they don't get mad, they don't argue. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But listen, most couples, there is anger. There is going to be an argument from time to time.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But if you tell somebody, a regular, ordinary person, we never argue, with somehow that being the expectation, and that's the bar they meet.
Yeah.
How do they meet that bar? Because most people don't operate in that way, simply because you're dealing with two different individuals who are coming together, trying to get to the same place. And so there's some work that has to be done. There's some shaping and forming that has to be done. And so we don't like to allow people to see the shaping and the forming, or and obviously, what are you going to do? Open the front door and watch this conversation? It's not going to be that. But how transparent are we?
Yeah. I mean, it's specifically with our kids, right? So some of us take a posture of shielding our kids from all the negativity, right? We don't want them to see us fight. We don't want them to see us upset or argue or in separate rooms. Whatever it is, we try to shield them from that. However, they're taking in information nowadays from so many platforms, right? They're taking in information and they have access to so much more than we had access to. So when we were growing up years ago, if you were children in the 70s and 80s and even early 90s, there was a little bit more of a control over what happened in your house, right? There was this whole idea that, you had conversations around the dinner table and we controlled the narrative about what was shaping our kids outside of school.
That was an idea, though.
I think we bought into it. It was an idea.
But
it was an idea.
Because a lot of people weren't even doing that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But what we now know, and what is true today is even if you're sitting at your dinner table, they have access to the world. And so as they're taking in information, they are comparing information when they're at their friends' houses. What do their parents' relationships look like? What do relationships look like in movies or on TV? And then how does that compare to what I'm seeing is happening with my parents, right? And so there's that. Then there is we don't have to say anything for them to take in information about what we're doing.
Exactly. Right? That's exactly what I was going to say. Oftentimes we believe we are shielding.
Yeah.
We're not shielding anything. They're experiencing it. They know us, right? Often kids, they live with you, right? They watch everything. They see everything. Even when they're not watching, what I discovered is that they're watching. I may get on my kids for being on the phone all the time, but they're taking in information. They're running data, right?
Yep.
Constantly. And so when the temperature shifts or, rises or falls, or when something happens, they immediately feel it.
Yeah.
And so we can say, not mad, everything's good. How is everything? Fine. We can do all that.
Yeah.
We're not fooling anybody.
Yeah.
So,
And I think when there's tension can be felt even if it's not spoken. And so there's that piece of it. And really what I wanted to say, beyond that, right? These unrealistic expectations based on false ideals, right? What we want it to look like versus what it really is we need to really encourage more couples to be transparent and honest and truthful about what they're experiencing, but also to be out front and displaying it, right? I mean, people need to know that there are marriages that are working.
Yeah.
That is not an anomaly, that is not unique to have a marriage that is healthy and thriving,
Yeah.
but that anyone could have a healthy and thriving marriage.
It's true. And so it seems like on an intellectual level, we all have to know that, right? Like on the intellectual level, you got to know you're not the only one. You got to know that for someone to get from point A to B, there's a whole journey. Somehow when you're in it, it feels like you're the only one on that journey.
Yeah.
And then you actually, people, we tend to buy into that isolation. And so now if I say something about what's happening, what's been happening, it's embarrassing, right?
Yeah.
There's shame associated with it because now for somehow I'm broken, we're broken, this is broken.
Yeah.
And so if you're watching that, what's there to love about that? If you're on the outside looking in, if you're a young person, you're like, okay, marriage or not. And so it becomes, as Don put in here, like a business relationship. And you see that a lot. There's a lot of vetting going on, but it's not like, hey, are you the one for me? It's how's your credit score? It's, what do you do for a living? What's your income and prenuptial agreements and making sure that people protect themselves from financial ruin.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And kind of doing your own thing in the same space. Right. And so that happens, so, and Don alluded to that as well, separate friends, separate family,
Yeah.
separate worship, because the transaction is, we can go further. We can build wealth quicker. We can have more house. We can have more money, save more if we do it together. But the business becomes the focal point versus the marriage itself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
because if you got to make a choice, make a safe business decision versus all that other drama I've been watching.
Yeah, and I think
Right.
that kind of comes back to even the Will and Jada Smith, right? This whole idea of a partnership in marriage versus a marriage relationship, right? So we're looking at what we're doing as we are just both in it, and two are better than one, only as it relates to not what the word says, but as it relates to a credit score
Yeah.
or ability to co-sign for each other, or ability to be able to have somebody that can get packages when you're not at home, or whatever it is, right? I mean, there are a lot of things that we share, and there are a lot of perks to marriage. And, it just reminds me of conversations that I'm having with our daughters right now about the give and take of marriage, what it really requires, in terms of if somebody's getting on your nerves, or you don't like the way they do something, or if they walk around passing gas all the time, or whatever it is. And it's just like this whole idea that, well, I don't like that, and if somebody does that, then I'm not going to want to be around it. And it's like, whoa. There are a whole lot of things that we have learned to compromise and overlook and accept, because we know that all of us have our faults, right?
Yeah.
It's not just looking at somebody else and pointing out all the things that they do that you don't like. I mean, because when you love someone, you can overlook a whole lot of things.
You can overlook a whole lot, when you love someone. In fact, if you love someone, you will overlook a whole lot of things. I got this comment. I missed it. That Shannon put in here.
Oh no, go ahead.
He said, my kids looked at me and said, I don't want to be married because of how you treat your mother. Wow. Very interesting you say that, because there was a kid I said it now. Sydney, she liked this kid. She knows how I feel about the dude, right? She liked this kid, and one day, and there was really no movement on relationship or whatever, but we passed him at the grocery store one day. Old buddy is in the car on his phone, kicked back. Mom's is in the back of the car, like with, moving grocery bags. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Nah, look,
Yeah.
he's not the one. Period. Right? The brother and his mom was like ill too. The brother is sitting there with his phone while his mama's loading groceries. Stop it.
Yeah.
I mean, now who knows exactly what's happening in that moment, but that's all I need to see.
Yeah. Well, I thought he was saying of how he treated their mother, not how he treats his mother.
Oh.
But you could clarify that for us.
Clarify that, because I went all in on that one. But that's a true story.
Yeah, it is a true story. But I think that often we think that they only see us in our best moments because that's what we try to show them. But the truth is they see us all the time.
Yeah.
And they see through us. Like you said, they know us. They can sense when we're okay and when we're not okay. And especially when we're not okay with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so this whole idea of, well, even if they see us stick it out, which we saw people stick it out, but they stuck it out and they were miserable doing it.
Yeah, because
Because what?
Nothing changed.
Because nothing changed. So
right?
say more.
Well, I'm saying when you stick it out and you're like, okay, we're gonna stay in this, right? We're not going anywhere. That's cool. However, something has to change. There's a reason. There's a way that you got to where you got to, and so something needs to change. And generally, that thing is right here, right? There's something different that you must do, some different way that you have to respond. And so we don't want to do that. So we want to stay and we're going to stick it out and we're going to suck it up, but we're not changing anything.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you so what ends up happening often there is that you then find yourself kind of in the same place that you were.
Yeah, and they have the freedom and they feel empowered. Speaking about current generations, that when something is not the way that they like it, if they don't feel comfortable or if they're not in agreement or whatever it is, then they know that they can just leave the situation. We actually have supported and informed that. We have empowered them. Every former generation empowers the current generation, and everything that we see manifest in them is really a result of what happened with us. So we made adjustments to baby boomers, for example. And speaking about our generation, what are we, X?
We're X.
Yeah, speaking about
The best
X,
generation.
let's put us in X. And so what we did based on what we saw them do was something completely different. We didn't feel empowered. But we saw that you had to work hard, that you got a job, you stayed in that job for a long time, but we weren't trying to work all the time, which is what we saw them do. We saw, our fathers were workaholics, our parents worked all the time, two parents working in the home, all those things, latchkey kids, all of that
latchkey
formed
kids.
us.
We
right?
did that.
And
70s.
So
Yeah,
what
80s.
we then birthed and pushed forward were independent kids who were empowered, and we were pushing the narrative that you can be anything that you want to be. But if somebody touches you wrong, tell somebody. If somebody looks at you wrong, tell somebody. Stranger danger, all of those things. That's what we pushed on them.
Yeah.
And so currently what they are experiencing is full empowerment to look out for themselves only.
Yeah.
It's a me first generation.
Well, it's a me first generation because I think in a lot of ways, we somehow screwed up what it is to love someone else unconditionally. So what they see, Shannon's talking about, kind of how we talk to each other and deal with each other and how we fake, right? And y'all alluding to it. Fake is obvious, right? Guess what? If you are that one and you're running around like everything's cool and it's not, you're not fooling anybody. I'm just saying it is obvious when it's fake. And so what do people do? They may even call it out from time to time, but generally speaking, they'll just watch and let you be fake, and they will make conclusions about that. Like, oh, I see, this is what it is. And we're talking about kind of our children, that maybe the ones that you raise, the ones that are in your home, but there are all kind of opportunities to impact younger people, right?
Yeah.
And oftentimes they will come seeking you out. It doesn't feel like they're seeking you out, but maybe they're just in your space. Maybe they're just standing there. Maybe there's a conversation that you can have about something relatively benign, but it paves the way for other conversations. I guess what I'm saying is there are people outside of your family who you directly impact in terms of how they see marriage, the hope that they have for it, and maybe the despair that they have for it. And so how do you do that? You must be imagining. I must imagine you must be thinking, well, how do you do it? Like, what am I supposed to just go out here and talk about it? Talk about my marriage? Talk about that last argument? How you supposed to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I have like an answer like ready in the queue for how you're supposed to do that. I just know that it is so important to own your truth, right? You know, we certainly don't have an expectation that everybody that we know is going to be as transparent or open or vulnerable as we have been,
Been pretty
right?
transparent.
I
Yeah.
think that you have to. I think in some ways we were called to do that, and even in doing that, we are very prayerful about it. We tread lightly when we do it, and we're very careful about caring for each other as we do that.
Yeah.
It's not just oh yeah, our life is just an open book. Literally, here's the book. Here's everything that's
Yeah.
happened, and we talk about it, and you could ask us anything.
Yeah.
I mean, we have grown to a space where we can comfortably answer questions and talk to people only because we believe that if people know that you can heal from some of the most damaging things that can happen in a marriage, then they will have hope for the little things that happen in their marriage.
So it's a great point, and so I think that the answer to the question in terms of how very often, and we're talking generally more mature people, right?
Yeah.
But there will come a time when someone is going through their own struggle, and they will seek you out, and they will say, "Hey, I don't know what to do here. I think this is hopeless." And you know, those are the times. So there's some ways that we talk about our relationship and our history together, and then there's the one-on-ones,
Yeah.
right? So oftentimes men, I'll talk to men about whatever's going on with them, but of course, you know, they want to know what went on with me, like how did you do it, what happened, etc. Those conversations are very direct, very real, very raw.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they have to be, because when you're struggling, the last thing you want to sniff out is some foolishness and smoke screens and people trying to protect themselves. Like, and I get everybody's not ready for the level of transparency that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But oftentimes what drives that hesitancy is fear. There's still some lingering shame. There's, you know, maybe you won't think as much of me as you did. Maybe you'll judge me based on, if you knew the real truth, maybe you judge me, right? But here's the thing. When he's talking about owning your truth, you know, owning the truth about whatever it is, whatever it was.
Yeah.
If you do that, nobody can use that against you. Period.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and I say that a lot. I have opportunities to share with women. You know, we share with couples, yes, but you know, you share with men, I share with women, and we have one-on-one conversations. And you're absolutely right. I think there, with people, and speaking specifically to the question that was asked, the younger generation, they don't want us to pontificate. They don't want us to just throw platitudes. They don't want us to just be cliche and give them one-line answers. They don't want us to just say, just hang in there and pray about it. Even if they know that prayer works and prayer is powerful, and really embrace that, there are times when our human selves want something that they can do, right? That some other action. Always pray. Pray first. Pray without ceasing. Yes. And A, B, C, and D. That's specific to your situation, right?
Yeah.
But I think it is so important that we start being our real selves, because if people are trying to figure this thing out, they need to know that the real is this, right? This is what it really looks like to be in a long-term committed relationship. This is what it really looks like to have to compromise. This is what sacrifice really looks like. This is what it requires. And it's not bad. It just requires that you are active in it, right? Marriage is not passive. Marriage is not like we say I do and then we just coast for the next 50 to 80 years. It's active. Like every day you have to recommit, you have to accept, you have to sacrifice, you have to forgive little things every day.
Here's a question. Are you all watching, listening? Are you all ready to allow someone to see the dust on your shelves? Right? There's some folks who are like, look, you know, nobody's coming in this place unless it is pristine, right? And so we got company coming, and it's just a whole day of just going crazy, cleaning things up. Now, when you go to that home that kind of looks like a hotel lobby, some people live like that.
That's true.
We don't.
No, we don't.
and a lot of people do not, but they will hotel lobby that bad boy up when the people come. And that's fine. And people, they're like, oh, cool, this is nice. They'll say that, right? But guess what? Let's say we're sitting around in that pristine living room and a question about housekeeping or cleaning the house comes up, right? Most people are not going to tell you, man, look, we got dust bunnies and all kinds of stuff at our house. They're probably not going to tell you that if they're sitting in the Taj Mahal. Why? Right? Because there's this that little pride that kicks in, that little shame that kicks in. Like, man, I can't talk about my dirty house around these people.
Yeah.
Right?
It looks clean, but don't open that closet.
But don't open that closet. If you are a don't open that closet type person, if that's what y'all got going on, look, that it's blocking you actually from being able to bless somebody.
Yeah.
Right? Now, everybody's not ready for, again, a high level of transparency.
That's true.
But that is really a heart thing. It's really a God thing. It's a you thing. Because you hit that place when you realize, like, man, everybody is going through the exact same things. Mm-hmm. Some people, and we've all been in that place where we need a hand. We need somebody to say, hey, you know what? It's going to be okay. I know it because I've been through that storm. I've been through that valley that you're in.
Yeah.
And I'm doing okay. And so how can you even share that if you can't even share that you've been in the valley? If you can't share that you got a little dust?
Yeah, well, I thought it was interesting. I mean, our girls have definitely been watching us their entire lives and have become quite vocal as they became teenagers and young adults. And, you know, a lot of what they've shared with us has not always been pleasant. It sometimes has been painful, extremely hurtful.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say hateful, but they've come at us with some stuff, right? And so they're taking in information. And I thought it was real interesting at one point where they were like, I don't stand up for them and I'm weak in some ways. And I'm like, me? Weak? Oh my goodness. I couldn't believe it. That it was like a knife going through my heart. Because we know what happens that's not happening in front of them, right? Mm-hmm. And so you jumped right in there and you're like, oh, ho, 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 right? And really kind of, you know, but you were honest and you were transparent about it. Y'all have no idea what's happening, you know, not what is happening behind the scenes, the conversations that we actually have, those types of things. It's really important to me that what they see most is that we love and honor each other. Yeah. But we don't hide that sometimes we get on each other's nerves or there are things that we do that we don't like. And when we're not really feeling each other, we don't hide that either. I mean, they're taking all that in, but they're giving us information back. And then how we respond when we get that is critical. It is really, really critical because that then determines how they're making sense of things, right? Yeah. Well, if they know that you did something that was not nice, they didn't like the way you talked to me or your tone when you said something, they're waiting to see how I'm responding to that. Yeah. And then how I respond to them, making a comment about that. We noticed this. So it was interesting that when we were in Houston, one of the questions that came to us was, do your children know that there was infidelity in your marriage? And we had to kind of stop. And it's like, do they know? Right. I mean, do they know? We did not sit them down and have a family meeting and have a conversation about it. We started talking about it before we went public with it. Yes. Though we talked about what impact that would have if it came back to them and not from us. I mean, we discussed all that, but it just caused us to kind of pause and say, well, wait a minute, did we have this conversation? And so what happened?
Well, first of all, the funny thing is back in what was that, 2004, whatever it was, like what you basically said to me, like, I'm gonna tell your kids. Oh. And basically deal with that. And I'm like, what?
I did say I was
something to that effect. So
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that I was sitting around like waiting for the day for a while, right? Yeah. But it was an interesting question. I'm like, wow. So we didn't actively. So I'm like, well, only one way to know for sure. And so I called them up.
Yep.
and asked like, hey, do you know what our book is about? Right? Do
Yeah.
you know like the details of what's in there? And they were like, and I'm like, no, like I said, you know what I'm talking about? Like, do you kind of do you know the full story in the book? They were like, well, yeah, we scanned through it, and I'm like, okay, and what did you think? And they told me kind of where they were when because they were flipping through the book at one of their cousins' house or whatever,
Right.
and and so our oldest said, well, she wasn't like currently she's not angry. She said she was a little angry at first, but she kind of got over that quickly. But she did in the back of her head. She she kind of kept that card. Like one day, like when I'm getting on her about something, well, what about you? Boom. What about your mess? Right? She said she never pulled that card,
Yeah.
but she thought about maybe one day when she might actually do that.
Yeah. I mean,
Right?
she was equipped with it.
Yeah,
Right.
armed is more.
Armed with
Yeah.
it. Yeah, yeah. And I thought the rest of that question was, does it impact how our girls see you? Do they see you any
Yeah.
differently
Yeah.
because of it? And so I think that equipped with that knowledge, but then being able to still see how we interact, how we love each other, how we communicate, all of those things, they are making meaning of all of that.
Yeah.
And so it's, they went through this, and yet the example that we show or how we live our lives really is informing how they may live theirs and their future decisions and their expectations in their relationships.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think for me, and I'll see if I can. I think I can say this and keep it together. But you know, the proof is in what I see, in terms of what they think of me. Because my impulse would say, well, what do you think about me, right? But I don't have to ask them, because our relationship as they get into their Morgan gets closer to 20s and Sydney gets a little deeper in their 20s.
Yeah.
Our relationship is evolving. And so this is for everybody who's got those kids who are sitting in that 14, 15, 16-year-old pocket.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
It changes, things change, and so our relationship is evolving. And when they need something, they call me. And when they're talking about the next dude that they got a crush on, or maybe that has a crush on them, they're talking to me. And they will call, and it's very interesting because our kids, they don't have a rotation. They just call who they feel like calling.
Yep.
And so I'm still on that list of people
Yeah.
that they call, and they'll call me when they're struggling with decisions, or when things are difficult, or certainly when there's trouble, they'll call me.
Yeah.
And we talk, and we have just a really good time. So I don't think I have to ask them.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and I think it is obvious in a lot of ways, but I think what that really speaks to is, we don't have to try to do anything, right? If you are so busy and you are so focused on making an effort to do things, to create an atmosphere or an environment, or to try to force it to make it feel a certain way, then you're doing too much. The goal is to be that way, right? To just live that way. When you are just being versus doing, then it's effortless. It makes it so much easier, right? And so I really appreciated that the young lady asked the question, because it really puts the onus on us. Those of us that are in marriages right now, we have a responsibility, because we are influencing whether we choose to or not. We are impacting whether we're aware or not. We don't really like kids that much. Now, I love babies, but in terms of kids and teens, and we've been asked to speak to the youth at our church a few times.
I'm afraid of teens.
And when those questions have come to us, we're like,
Like, okay.
are you sure? You sure you want us? Because we got to pray about this, and then
And-
maybe we'll do it.
And we're gonna give you that. We're gonna give them that answer.
We're going to give them the answer. We've done it a few times. And I think because we made ourselves available, what that did was that opened it up for those young people to then see us differently.
Yeah.
And come to us. And we've been surprised over the years when they have come to us with questions or telling us, what they think about us. It's an amazing thing that we didn't even seek out. And
Totally.
so I share that. I have to mention John McDermott. He's on here, and John and Ann, we love y'all.
John McDermott. Can we do? Is that legal, John? Can you put it out there like that?
I know. John is dropping it in here. He's excited. We're excited. We're going to be speaking at the Weekend to Remember in Charleston in December, and he dropped it in there in the chat. So if you guys are looking for a destination weekend, or if you're in the Charleston area, we'd love for you to join us and hear the rest of our story. That would be awesome. So thanks for dropping that in there, John.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
First, I'm just noticing. I'm digging this cap right here. I like what you got going on right. It's very nice.
That's so funny.
I love it.
So Don Nesbitt says, "Make their mess their message," and I like that. Not all of us can do that. Hey, Angie Green, thanks for joining us. Not everybody wants to hear it either. Not everybody is receptive to hearing about the mess, right?
Yeah.
Some people just want to hear about how good it is and how good it can be, and they just want the hope and prosperity message. They don't want to have to go on the whole journey. And so I think that it's important, though, that you as a couple posture yourselves to be able to share at a level that you're both comfortable sharing, that you're in agreement about what you share, but that you're also real about what you're sharing when you share it. Yeah.
Did we shout out Lisa McNeil?
No, hey.
What's up, sis?
Oh, look. And ELZBZVIL76. Just logged on, got your book in the mail yesterday.
Hey,
That's awesome.
Can we get your name? We need a name because that one is hard.
Yeah.
But
So,
it looks like is it an Elizabeth maybe? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So So we thank you guys. We've just been going on and on. Hadn't even been looking at the comments. We will absolutely send us your address. We will bless however many of you want a book.
Like right now?
Yeah. So
Okay.
DM us your address and we will put a book in the mail for you.
This is live only though because
Yeah.
I mean if you're looking at this a week later on the replay, I mean come on.
He said send us the book. We got Cash App. But yeah, if you want a book, DM us, DM the Marriage Shop. Send us your address and we'll make sure we get a book to you.
Yeah. Brian McNeil, what's going on? What's going on?
Yeah.
I do have to say this before we're done. Because this idea of transparency, what's the point? Because a lot of people, they think, hey, I'm not telling my business to just anybody. Marriage, actually, like what it is, the model that we are demonstrating, it's actually not about happily ever after. It's about sacrifice and forgiveness. That's what marriage is. And so for a marriage to just kind of to appear as if everything is perfect all the time, there's not even an opportunity to model what marriage is actually about.
That's good. That's good. So what would it be?
Haha, Elizabeth, I knew it. Thank you.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah. So that's what's up. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Is what I'm gonna say, Jorge?
Jorge.
Oh, my bad. I'm just
It's George.
reading. I'm being real literal tonight. In terms of what I see.
It's all good.
So-
Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Has it been 12 years? Yes. And
Wow.
you and Ann have blessed us tremendously.
12 years?
Yeah,
Craziness.
so we are just really excited about that opportunity. So we appreciate you guys hanging in there with us tonight through the technical difficulties and the crazy sounds like we were talking through a fan. We're here most Mondays at 7, and we appreciate so much that you guys take some time out to share this time with us.
Now, next Monday happens to be, I believe, the 4th of July. Is that correct?
That might be correct.
I think it's 4th of July.
Yes.
And so, I'm not one to take days off. You know what I mean? I'm like, no, the 4th of July is not a day off. It's a day on. However, it's summertime. And most of y'all will be out doing whatever it is you do on the 4th anyway. So we will not be here on the 4th. We may drop you a little something just to encourage you. Wendy's like, what?
I mean, you just gave
I
us the
might-
night off, and then you
The
said we're
night
gonna
off,
drop
but
you a little
there's all
something.
those days. So we might drop you a little something. Not live though. We won't be live,
Yeah.
but we'll be back in a couple of weeks. But we just thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for watching. So like this, share it with everybody, right? Certainly,
Yeah.
married friends, single friends. We just want to try to help to let people know that your marriage, not only can it be better, it can be amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And so Angie Green says, thank you. See you on July 11th. And make sure you like and follow the Poncere Show page. Poncere. You will not be disappointed. So, yeah, thank you guys. We're going to pray with them tonight.
We are going to pray with them
All
tonight.
right.
All right. Heavenly Father, we just come tonight just thanking you for who you are, for how you bless us every day. We thank you for everyone watching, everyone listening. We just ask that you bless them, God. Help us all to be able to share what you delivered us from, what you brought us through, and how you've made it so that we can love each other better every day, every passing day. So we thank you, God. We love you. We ask you to bless every home, every family. And we'll be sure to give you all the honor and the praise. Pray these and all blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. So we got, guys, we hope you have a blessed week until July 11th. I was going to say next week, but until July 11th. Enjoy the holiday, enjoy your family, and enjoy each other. So we'll see you soon.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's your boy JC. I'm in the mood, love. Lately I've been constantly thinking about you, babe. You drive me crazy, yeah. And girl, I want this. Got me all up in my feelings. Oh, what a feeling, yeah. I knew the first time I laid eyes on you that you would be here forever. I'm not being arrogant, and I still can't take my eyes off you. 'Cause you made me better, so much better. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime, baby. I love your kindness, I love your confidence. Ooh, you're the finest. So glad you're mine, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't wanna be with nobody else. Give me your love, that's all the wealth I need. Baby, you're priceless to me, yeah. To love you for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime. Yeah. Whoa. Promise I'ma be around. I'ma always hold you down. Won't you come and hold me now? Won't you come and hold me now? I just got no cool. Yeah, I know I got a roof, but I always keep it down with you. Yeah. And I know they see it. Girl, you're my queen. And beauty speaks for itself loud and clear, yeah. So throw it in the air. It's the sweetest sound to follow my ear. And I want the world to know I love you forever. And that's a long time, babe. But I got time for you, baby.